Welcome to VoteProPot-Cast, the award-winning cannabis news podcast brought to you by VoteProPot.com. Here are your hosts, Phil Adams, Jay Britton, and Andrew McCreadies.
Craft marijuana farmers in California are being prevented from offering their own brands. Wonder why? We'll find out. Cops find a refrigerator dropped along an interstate, and what do you think they found inside? I'll give you a clue. Just look at the name of our podcast, and that might clue you in. But, there it is. So, first I want to get to, and I want to say, after the fact, happy Thanksgiving to all our listeners. We didn't produce an episode on last Thursday for obvious reasons.
That was the first show we missed first time we haven't released since we started 2.5 years ago.
That's right.
That's pretty impressive, I must say.
That's right. Did we record on Thanksgiving last year, or did we?
We released a show. I don't know what we did. I'd have to look it up. We might have done a best of or something, but I still have to edit the freaking thing. So
yeah. So how was your Thanksgiving, Jay?
It was good, man. It was quiet and laid back with the Corona.
I'm sure everybody can say pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, it was different, but it was nice. It was nice.
Yeah,
nice to have a little break and.
I went over to my sister's house. It was just a small group, although my niece was there, and she apparently tested positive since then, and she's not feeling well. So let's keep a good thought for my niece, Allie. And
good grief.
I'm sure she'll be just fine.
Yeah.
But
I've had a lot of experience in the last just 2 weeks with people who've tested positive that I'm either close with or know or work with or something. So there's no question the numbers are booming. So, but they've all come through fine in my experience. The people that I've known.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but once you get it, you can't get it again, at least for a while.
As far as they know, as far as they know,
which is
time will tell.
I think they know more than they used to, but they don't know everything there is.
Right.
But anyway, happy Thanksgiving to you, and we're in the midst of the holiday season, so all of those nice holiday thoughts out to all our listeners. Hope everybody is well, or as well as can be hoped for. And if not, you can actually use marijuana medicinally. Did you know that, Jay?
I've heard.
We did an article about that once, that you can.
Yeah, they say it works really well.
They say it works depending on what you have. So once again, we are without our good buddy Andrew this week. Andrew is off, and we'll be checking back with him. I think in a couple of weeks,
probably. Yeah,
and so we're gonna fly duo, just me and the J boy, and we're gonna give you all of the cannabis news that we can come up with, and all the news that fits in the time slot. So. Which we dictate, so it really doesn't matter what the time is.
Sometimes anyway.
Well, we'll keep it to our normal, length.
30-ish.
Yeah. So let's start off with some big news. And the big news is that this last week on Friday, the House of Representatives passed the MORE Act.
Whoa. Yeah, and that's a big one.
That is a big one. Right. The Marijuana Opportunity, Reinvestment, and Expungement Act passed the House of Representatives as predicted, I think. But, whatever happens, whatever the predictions were, whatever the particulars are, this is huge news, Jay.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a big damn deal.
Yeah, and, the numbers were 228 to 164. So it won 228 to 164.
So it was not on a straight party line vote.
It was not, but it was close. Only 5 Republicans joined up, and that would be Matt Gaetz of Florida, a Virginia congressman, I guess it's a congressman, Denver Riggleman, Don Young of Alaska, Tom McClintock of California, and Brian Mast of Florida. So those were the only 5.
All right, so 2 Florida boys.
Yeah. 2 Floridas, Alaska, California, and Virginia. Thank you, Virginia.
Thank you, Virginia.
So, I guess, this is really huge because it's just so long in coming. And I tell you, it's all over the internet. It's a big deal for folks like us, the pro-cannabis legalization movement. And, one of the things that interests me, Phil, tell me your thoughts on this.
Okay.
The Republicans were really, a lot of them were kvetching about this and making the point, why in the world are we voting on this instead of COVID relief? Why are we spending time on this instead of COVID relief? So I guess my question for you, because you follow this stuff closely, is what's the message you think the Democrats in Congress are trying to send by passing this and yet again kicking COVID relief down the road? What do you think? What are they trying to say?
I think the idea, and the Democrats did it too. Why are the Republicans doing all of this other stuff when you should be passing COVID relief? They did it during the election. Mm-hmm. Congress can do two things. Congress has lots of bills that they can pass, and when they spend it. Now, I understand that the COVID relief is urgent, it's languishing, but it's being held up by what? Politics.
Yeah, right.
And when people say, "Why are you doing this and not this?" That's just politics. So you can't really take the politics out of politics.
No,
it's
there.
just that's just what people say. You can't do two things.
I suppose they just knew they had to count. They had the votes, so let's go ahead and do this while we got the votes. That's the other half of it. Politics, as they say, is the art of the possible. And when you have something that's possible to do, you should do it. What the heck?
And they had the votes. I don't think it's so much of a message, but I think it's important for their side as a racial justice issue.
Mm-hmm, right.
Because, there's no doubt that black men get arrested and incarcerated for marijuana more at a higher rate than white people and other races. And they're not smoking any more weed than anybody else.
Exactly. Yeah. Now you've covered the MORE Act both on our show here, but also on We Talk News. But just real quick, I'm going to run through some of the things that are in the MORE Act for folks who haven't paid that close attention and know what it is, but maybe don't know the specifics. The big one is it removes cannabis from the Controlled Substance Act. I mean, that's freaking huge.
That is the domino.
That's the finger out of the dike.
Yeah. That's right.
That's right. It also replaces statutory references to marijuana. The word marijuana. It changes it with regard to government reference to the substance. It's to be cannabis in all government official documentation.
And I suppose that's a good thing.
I think it's interesting. Yeah, I think it's interesting. And there's a whole bunch of stuff in here. There's a 5% tax on cannabis sales, which goes into a trust fund. And I guess that Congress later will specify what that trust fund will be used for. But I mean, if you think about it, Phil, if this is a national thing, if you just look at the sales in the recreational states now, they're raising literally billions of dollars.
That's a lot of dough.
So 5% tax across the board in the whole country. Again, states, I assume, will still have the right to make it illegal in their state.
Is alcohol taxed federally?
Good question, and
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know where. That's part of the problem with this. I don't know where Congress gets off taxing marijuana federally.
Right. Yeah.
I just
I don't either. That's a good
but then
point.
you and I, we're libertarians in a sense. We would just as soon let people do what they want, let states do what they decide to do, and let the federal government, unless it's certain specific matters, stay the hell out of it.
Yeah, stay out of it, being.
It's none of their damn business. Just because they have the power to control it or not control it doesn't mean that, every time a dollar changes hands, that the damn federal government gets a cut.
Like the frickin' mafia or something,
Well, yeah.
A few of the really big points, bullet points in here are the expungement. There's a process. It'll establish a process for expungement, which is fantastic.
Which is near and dear to my heart.
Exactly. And quite a few other things. But those are the big. I'll stick with those for now, the big bullet points. And, of course, the biggest is the removal from the Controlled Substances Act. That's
right. There will no longer be Schedule 1 or Schedule anything if this passes. Now,
so that's our big news for the day?
That is the big news. Now, of course, it still has to make its way through the Senate. It probably will not do so in this Congress.
Right.
But that doesn't mean the next Congress can't take it up. And then, depending on who retains or acquires control of the Senate in the next Congress, it could pass both houses of Congress and then be sent to the president's desk. And I expect President Biden.
You assume he'll sign it, even though he's not?
Oh, yeah.
I think he would, too.
He'll do whatever they tell him to do.
Send us your thoughts at VoteProPot.com/contact or send us an email at podcast@VoteProPot.com, and please give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. If you'd like to be part of the show, call our message line at 240-257-2441.
So, that's what's happening in the halls of Congress, inside the Beltway here. Now, what's happening across the country in the state of California?
Wow, we report a lot on California.
California is its own kind of...
tripping over its own dick.
That's right. That's right.
Well, this is a story out of Marijuana Business Daily that I saw today by John Schroyer, and this is about. Let's preface this by stating a fact that many believe, if not most, in the industry, that the best cannabis grown in the world is grown in California. It's specifically in the Emerald Triangle. And there's a reason for that. And you've got a lot of kind of craft growers, we would call them. These are mom pa type operations, small
right.
farms, small crops. And they've been doing it for generations, literally.
Yeah, they've been around a long time.
Yeah. If you've seen that show, Murder Mountain on Netflix, you get a good feel for this. But anyway, the complaint is that these folks are not able to market their cannabis as a craft cannabis for reasons set forth by California itself and their regulations and this maze and the costs involved. Most feel that it's, like I said, Emerald Triangle grows the best weed in the world. Unlike California's famed winemakers, these craft growers face systematic hurdles because they usually can't afford the tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars that it costs to set up and manage a branded business, which is what you have to have in California. Some of the stipulations California set forth is, for example, you cannot sell directly to dispensaries. You have to have a distributor or a middleman by law, which is just so stupid. I don't, because it's California.
I know, but yeah.
I don't know what the purpose is. I think
it certainly raises the question why.
Yeah, it certainly does, and that
cannot bring your product to market.
And this labyrinth of regulations that cost, just like I said, it's tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Understand that most of the really big guys in California, they have these huge indoor operations or even greenhouses, but for the most part, they're indoor. So they can grow a few crops a year. And these smaller mom and pop craft folks who really take interest in what they're doing and create a wonderful product, they're only going to get one crop a year, and it's typically going to be like 1,000 pounds. And the big distributors who they have to deal with are not interested in 1,000 pounds. They're looking for 10 and 20 times that because they want to just keep product on the shelf. What this does is it causes these small family operations to sell to these distributors, and they white label it or they just bundle it with other stuff. So it's, this is something that these folks who do this really want to pursue. They really want to create, much like the wine industry in California, they want to create their own sort of brands and their own craft, like craft beers and craft wines and so forth. The small operations that only do, 1,000 cases of wine a year, but they win all the awards and people pay a lot of money for the wine because it's so good.
Because it's good stuff. And
they want to do that with cannabis, and they're not allowed to. They say you're looking at a minimum of $50,000 just to get started, just for the basic things that you need to do to meet the regulations to start a brand. The small farms usually have a capacity to grow about 1,000 pounds, like I said, and that just doesn't meet the requirements of the distributors. Other thing is they require that you have a commercial building.
What now?
That's a requirement to grow and package your product. And of course, it has to be inspected, and you have to have all these different licenses and stuff. So most of these small growers say that looking into it, they have to spend $250,000 to acquire their building. And then what happens to their crop? They say, I can't grow the same quality product inside a building that I'm growing outside in the sun in California. So the whole thing is just a cluster, and it's a shame. It's another thing that happened, just as an example, and we'll finish up on this, is California changes their frickin' regulations every month, right? Well, some of these companies were trying to do their packaging, to do their own thing, and they went out and spent, one in particular that they interviewed in this article, a person named Erickson, said they spent $100,000 on packaging. No sooner they got it delivered, California changed the requirements of the packaging, and they had to throw it all away.
Oh, my God.
After the fact, there's no grandfathering. It's just like, nope, you didn't meet the regulations. Well, we met the regulations a month ago. So anyway, this is the clusterfuck that is California. And it's a shame because there's some really great cannabis coming out of the Emerald Triangle. And unfortunately, there's only a very small handful of those, about 15%. That have a brand, that you can go and buy. Moon Dust, the company, and different products and so forth. So it's a shame. And
it is. It's
another indictment of California's overregulation, overtaxing, and just sticking their finger in everyone's
the nanny
eye.
State.
Yep.
Well, maybe this will end at some point when selling across state lines becomes legal.
That's a good point.
And if the federal government legalizes cannabis, then presumably, unless California passes a law banning it,
right?
Which I suppose they could do.
Wouldn't put it past them. Yeah.
But if they can sell across state lines, then then these growers can tell the state of California to fuck themselves.
Yeah, we'll see.
But for now, they got to play ball. And really, that's what it's all about. Yeah. Just forcing people to play ball.
Well, I'll just say again, if you haven't seen that show on Netflix, you talk about
Murder Mountain.
You talk about some rogue, off the grid, fascinating people, man. Whether you like them or not, those people up in when I say that, if you haven't seen this show, these people protect their own property with armed patrolmen, and there's no cops to speak of. I mean, it is like the Wild West up there, or it was. It's starting to change. But even after legalization in California, a lot of these farmers were still off the grid and doing their own thing. And they were like, why the fuck should we pay all these costs to the government? We've been doing this for 60 years, man. So they were still selling on the black market.
That's right.
A lot of them are, and then they would want to be legal. They were like, we have an awesome product here. We can market this legally now. Let's do it. And then they see what it costs. It's like $1 million.
Not worth it.
Yeah. I can't do it.
It's not worth it to do it legally.
That's right. So
they make them do it illegal. Well, cheers. Here's to California.
Yeah.
Someone wants to describe it as less of a state and more of a failed experiment.
I got a Texas story for you. Want to hear that?
Oh, yeah. Just, brighten my day.
I got this from NBC DFW Channel 5 in Dallas, I guess. Police are investigating how a refrigerator loaded with marijuana ended up along Interstate 45 in South Dallas County.
Dallas County.
Ferris police posted pictures on social media Wednesday night showing the busted up fridge discovered along I-95 near Malloy Bridge Road. Quote, someone dropped their refrigerator loaded with marijuana on SP Interstate 45. To whomever lost their valuables, please come claim it at the Ferris Police Department, and we will be more than happy to assist you.
Yes, I'm sure they will.
That's what the post said. So
I'm sure they will.
So
I'm just picturing this, Jay. These guys got it on the back of a pickup truck or something like that, loaded with weed. It slips off, crash. Of course, they must have noticed it.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, oh, dude, the fridge fell off.
Yeah,
should we go get it?
It's smashed open and there's weed all around.
And one guy says to the other, should we go back and get it? And the other guy says, I ain't going back and get it.
You go back and
get it. And they just drove on. They knew it was off.
It says here, Dallas County Sheriff's Department spokesman said a Ferris police officer had pulled over someone along 95 and heard a loud noise come from the other side of the highway. After he finished his traffic stop, he went to investigate it and found the refrigerator in the road. So imagine if that cop hadn't been right there and heard that. You know, somebody would have pulled up and gone, damn, open the trunk. Jeez.
Hey, Ethel. Open the trunk.
We're going to retire. Well, anyway, so that's a lot of weed.
Now, another scientist is suing the DEA. We reported a few months ago that a group of scientists and researchers were suing to have to overturn the classification of cannabis as Schedule 1 on the Controlled Substances Act. That went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court decided not to hear it, sent it back to the lower court, who said that you've got to work this out with the DEA.
Mm-hmm. Good luck with that.
Good luck with that. Well, another researcher, this one, a fellow named Lyle Craker of the University of Massachusetts at Amherst, had filed for a permit or an application to produce cannabis for research purposes. And that was back in 2001. Of course, he was roundly denied. And but then, after 2016, the DEA announced that it was going to begin a process of approving more cannabis cultivators. Right now, there's just one, and that's at the University of Mississippi.
Right.
Nobody else is federally authorized to grow cannabis for any reason, but federally authorized, that is, for research. Well, this guy applied, and they haven't denied it or any. They just haven't done anything.
Well, so, that's the government for you.
Yeah, so it's been languishing for 4 years.
We'll get to that.
And so he's suing to have them either approve it or deny it. If he proves it, great. Or if they approve it, great. If they deny it, at least he can appeal.
Right.
So he can, but the ball's in their court, and they're just not doing anything with it. So he has sued in the U.S. District Court for the District of Massachusetts this week, which will be last week, and backed by a group called the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, or MAPS. So
that's funny.
We're hoping Mr. Craker gets his approval, and maybe if we can get that first one.
Yeah, right. Well, if the way those things move in government up there.
Now, perhaps there's a big portion of the budget of the University of Mississippi, and I guess that would be Ole Miss, wouldn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah, the University of Mississippi is Ole Miss, dedicated to keeping them in a monopoly with the DEA. Now, I'm not suggesting that anything untoward is being done. I would never suggest such a thing of an SEC rival. Roll Tide. And but how long have they had a monopoly on this? And how long? Well, at least 4 years that the DEA has said, well, okay, we're going to open it up to more approvals, but they haven't.
I always wondered.
So they're full of shit.
It was always shocking to me, because we've known this for years, that the University of Mississippi,
of all places,
Mississippi, and I'd love to be a student there and go, where are they?
Now notice that it was only in November that Mississippi finally legalized cannabis, and I think for medical,
and it was a ballot initiative.
Initiative that passed. So I guess the legislation still needs to go forward, but the ballot initiative passed.
So where do they grow it? I mean, I wonder. Is it in a field somewhere next to the football field or something?
I don't know. It's probably covered with kudzu by now.
I just wondered that. But anyway, there you go, Mississippi.
Well, let's pull for our friend up in UMass.
Yeah, man. Good luck with that one. Hope that works
I went
out
to
for you.
UMass. I used to go to school in Boston. I went up to visit a friend in UMass.
Yeah.
And for some engineering project, someone built a maze on the campus. And of course, you go up there and you get wasted and you have to go do the maze in the middle of the night. And I don't know how long it took me, but it wasn't fast.
What's at the end of the maze? Was it worth it?
No, you just get out.
I got a business story for you here. We haven't done one of those in a while.
Business.
Aurora Cannabis. All right. We've been following them for a while. And they've been
one of the big Canadian verticals.
That's right. They're having some trouble, as we know, as we've reported.
Yep.
I say trouble. They're not doing great financially. They just announced that they're shutting a $250 million greenhouse indefinitely. One of their grow facilities and production facilities. That's big. And they've also laid off a big chunk of their staff. And so I don't know if anybody out there has Aurora stock. I wish you well. I looked them up today just to see where their stock was. And dude, their stock, their high, I guess last September, 2019, they were at about $78 a share. And in late October, a month ago, whatever it is, a month and a half ago, $4. Wow. Yeah, ouch.
Wow.
It's freaking painful.
Wow.
So,
I'm surprised they're even in business at all with that kind of...
Yeah, this is in Marijuana Business Daily, and it says that Aurora Cannabis says it's pausing operations at its Sun Greenhouse in Medicine Hat, Alberta, indefinitely, and that's in quotes. The closure represents the latest casualty after the industry significantly overshot the production capacity needed to meet demand in Canada's expanding adult use marijuana market. So those greenhouse deals ultimately led to direct real estate losses for Canadian producers worth millions of dollars.
I imagine.
So this is hitting more than just the cannabis industry, obviously.
Right.
So,
well, I wonder how some other cannabis verticals in Canada are doing. Canopy Growth, Tilray. I wonder how some of those are doing. Maybe we should.
Most of their stocks have fallen this year. I've got some stock. I was telling you earlier before we started recording. I've got a couple that have done very well. One's a True Leaf down in Florida. It's done very well in the last year. And some are doing, I think it's just some of these bite off more than they could chew and don't do a really good job of managing their cash flow. And
right. And
they raise millions, but
right.
Then what they do with those millions is really what's questionable, I think. I mean, here they spent $250 million on a structure that they didn't need. Shouldn't they have known they didn't need that? I mean, I don't know that the projections for the market share, the market size was that far off. So I think maybe there's just, I don't know, I'm speculating because it's not my business and I don't follow it that closely. But.
No, but it's easy to see, like you said, maybe their eyes were a little bigger than their stomach.
You think?
And they ramped up too quickly
as an example of what I talk about when I say how they manage their cash flow and stuff. And of course, these folks are going out. Raising money was a piece of cake for them. Everybody wanted in on the act, right? Once it was legal. Well, what they did here is, as of March 31st, idle property, the plant and the equipment attributed to Aurora Sun, which is this facility, reached a value of almost $260 million. That's Canadian money, but still, that's almost $200 million in the United States. The company disclosed that in their filings. That makes it, if not one of the most expensive cannabis greenhouses ever built. So why do they need to do that? It's not their only facility.
Yeah. Yeah,
so you have to question the management.
They overestimated. Their eyes were bigger than their stomach.
Yeah, you would think.
Well, I'm looking at some of these other cannabis stocks. Tilray has lost about half its value over the last year. Yeah. The stock has. It was trading just under $20. Now it's just under $10.
And when you think about it, Phil, during this whole coronavirus thing, weed sales have boomed. We know that. We know the dispensaries are just backed up, which reminds me real quick. Let me just throw this out while I'm thinking about it. I got an announcement last week that the dispensary here in Virginia, closest to me, has opened up yesterday. Is that exciting? I know. Yeah. So I got online to make an appointment.
Oh, you got to make an appointment?
You got to make an appointment because it's,
okay.
Because it's just COVID. Because of coronavirus.
Yeah.
I couldn't get an appointment till the third week in December.
Get the fuck out of here.
Right? It's like, damn.
You waited too long, Jay. Well, that's it. Well, now I'm just looking at some of these other stocks. Canopy Growth is way up.
Are they? Good. Okay.
Back in March, they were down to like $12. Now they're at 28, just under $30 a share.
Oh, cool. Good.
So
good.
they're up. Oh yeah, Aurora is taking a big dump. Horizon.
That's Steve.
Well, it's not reached its high, but it was way down last March, and to almost nothing, and now it's back up to close to $7 a share. Its high less than a year ago, was about $7.40 a share. So it's recovered a lot of it, but it's trending up. So
that's good.
It's not like the whole industry is taking a dump.
Right. It'll shake itself out.
But I don't know if I would hang on to Aurora stock because there's something more than just the industry doldrums that's holding them back.
Yeah, but if you bought it at 78, it's freaking hard to let go, man. It's like, oh my God.
At some point, you got to cut your losses.
You just got to bail and buy something else. But,
chalk it up,
Yep.
So we go from the halls of D.C. to the West Coast, down to Texas, back up to Massachusetts. And now we're back to the West Coast again.
Yeah,
San Francisco.
Some more California bashing.
More California, and we only bash them. I used to live in California, so did you.
Me too. Yeah.
And it was a fun place to live. I enjoyed it. I wouldn't want to live there now.
No,
I know a lot of people are leaving. My sister's been there for 20 years. She wants to leave.
Right.
But it's just getting to where they're just micromanaging.
It's unbelievable.
Too many things in life and not taking care of what they're supposed to take care of.
Here's a story from San Francisco by the Associated Press. City officials in San Francisco have banned all tobacco smoking inside apartments, citing concerns about secondhand smoke. But you can light up a joint anytime you want. The Board of Supervisors voted 10-1 Tuesday to approve the ordinance, making San Francisco the largest city in the country to ban tobacco smoking inside apartments, the San Francisco Chronicle reported. The original proposal sought to ban residents from smoking marijuana in their apartments, but supervisors voted to exclude marijuana after cannabis activists said the law would take away their only legal place to smoke, which makes sense. I mean, technically you can't smoke in public cannabis. So you go to the dispensary and buy your weed.
Well, where can you smoke tobacco then?
Well,
out on the sidewalk?
I suppose.
That's about it.
Yeah, I know.
You can't go anywhere indoors to smoke it.
It says here San Francisco now joins 63 California cities and counties with such a ban. So, again, you're talking about overregulation and the nanny state of California. That's it right there. I'm telling you.
Well, I guess so.
The Department of Public Health will be responsible for enforcing the new law. Under the ordinance, the department must first try to educate violators to help smokers quit. Repeat offenders could be fined $1,000 a day, but cannot be evicted for smoking violations.
Right. But they can be fined until they can no longer afford to live there. So that's the same as evicting them.
Yeah. So anyway, that's
it's I
more
don't
California bashing.
I don't cry too many tears for cigarette smokers.
No.
Now and I can see how smoking a cigar inside. I smoke cigars, but I never smoke them in the house.
No.
But I guess they're gonna have to vape.
I suppose so.
Is vape legal in California again?
Today it is.
Today it is.
I mean, legislators in California are always looking for something to make illegal. Always looking for some way to control your life more than they already are.
Oh, brother.
I tell you, my son lives out there. He's in L.A., James.
James, yeah.
As a musician, and he can't work. There's nothing to do. And he's getting so fed up with California right now. He's like sitting in his... Newsom's closed him down again. He could do nothing out there. It's crazy.
No.
Man.
Well, tell him to come back east, man. We miss him.
Yeah, he's coming home for Christmas. So
Good.
We'll have to all get together and with our masks and 6 feet apart.
Well, folks, we hope we gave you some stuff to think about and some information you can use and maybe provided a laugh or two along the way. Mostly we're just amusing ourselves, I think. What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, I'm good at that.
It's something fun to do, at least for us, on a Thursday evening. But we hope you did enjoy it. And if you did enjoy it, if you get a mind to, go on Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star rating, type up a nice little review, or tell a friend about Vote Pro Podcast. I'm sure there are some folks out there that who might enjoy this as much as you do. So tell a friend. What else, Jay?
Send us an email.
Oh, yeah.
At podcast@VoteProPot.com.
Yep.
And let us know what you're thinking, what you think of the show, or give us some ideas on what to cover on the show. Maybe some news stories we missed or something that's going on in your neck of the woods.
Or, we may have said something that's completely wrong and you know the right answer. So
you may have.
Call and just correct it, We always want to correct the records. And, of course, as always, we have a lot of information on our social networking platforms that you can access and enjoy, and people seem to be enjoying it. And of course, we can't cover all of that on the podcast, just a little bit each week. So if you want to find out more, absolutely check us out on social media. Go to Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram, and just do a search for, wait for it, Vote Pro Pot.